Hi, in this tutorial, we're going to take a look at making a collage in Photoshop, and then you are going to print it. Now, before we look at Photoshop and how we're going to make a collage, we should know a few things about sizes. For instance, print paper sizes. The typical ones that you will see are an 8.5 by 11 inch. That is letter size. And for your Photoshop activity, to print, you're going to use this here, this letter size. We can also set up our printer to do a 8.5 inch by 14 inch. That's legal size. Or we could use ledger or tabloid. And that is really two of these put together to give us 11 by 17. So those are the three typical print sizes for paper that we will use. So you should be familiar with those sizes. Now, in terms of photos and photo sizes that we would typically print if we'd go somewhere to Staples or somewhere to have these printed, typically we have photo sizes that we use. In other words, ones like 2 by 3 inches. Those are typical small print size. We've got 5 by 7s, 8 by 10s, and we might use these other sizes here for posters and so on. But typically, if you're going to order pictures, for instance, your pictures that you get from the school each year for the yearbook, you'd have an 8 by 10 picture. You might have a couple 5 by 7s. You'd have some 2 by 3s and maybe some 4 by 6s as well. So those are typical photo sizes. Again, those are all in inches. So now we've looked at that, let's take a look at how you're going to make your collage. Now, the first thing we need to do is determine the print size. So we have to go File, New, Blank File. And then we are going to type in our title. I'm going to call it collage. And I'm going to put in the width and the height correctly. Now, we're going to make this portrait view instead of landscape. So it's going to be taller than it is wider. Now, remember that a typical sheet of paper is 8.5 by 11. We want to have a white border, so we're going to have this a 1/2 inch smaller than 8.5, so that's 8 inches wide. Instead of 11, we're going to have it at 10.5 inches, and we're going to set the resolution for 300 pixels per inch. It's going to give us a really good print quality. And color mode will keep us RGB, that's red, green, blue color. And we're going to have this set to white background, even though we're going to change the background in this, which you will see. We're going to click on OK. And we get this here. Now, typically what we'll do is we'll always have our layers clicked here, but this time we're going to go to graphics. So we're going to go over here, click on graphics, and if you click on this drop-down menu, there's a number of different things you can select here. We've got different shapes, for instance, if we want to use. There's frames that we can use, and we can have different backgrounds. We're going to have backgrounds selected, and notice here we can actually select these by color and by seasons and so on. So there's a whole bunch of different backgrounds that are in here that you can use. We're going to just have seasons collected, and we're going to have summer selected here because this is going to be a summer collage. And I'm going to take this one here. It's simple and dark. So I'm going to click and drag, and I'm going to put that on top here. And we'll have that as our background. So now if I go to layers and take a look at that, there's my background that I'm going to use. In design, we never want to have backgrounds or frames or anything really take away from the photos. We want the photos to be the most important part. So be careful with backgrounds and putting in images. We always want to make sure the photos are where our eye goes to on a image. We don't want to look at backgrounds and have distracting backgrounds. We're going to go back to graphics, and what we're going to do is we're going to click on the drop-down menu, and we're going to go to frames. Frames is a neat feature because we can select frame boxes here and actually put photos inside of frames, and gives us a real neat effect when we're creating a collage. Now, there's a whole bunch of different frames you can choose from here. And again, we can click on by type here, and we've got a whole bunch of different frames that we can select from. You can take a look at any of one of these. Again, you want to be careful to make sure it's not too distracting. I found this one here, the vintage, was nice. It's not too bold, but it gives us a nice frame to work with. I'm going to select vintage photo 2, and I'm going to click and drag and pull that on here. So what you can do now is we are going to bring this so that we want to have a number of these frames on our collage. So I'm going to click on layers, and you can say that we have this one right here. And if I right click and I duplicate frame layer, and it gives us another one of these here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a number of these on here. I'm just going to keep duplicating. And what I'm going to do is, you build a collage, we should have one photo that maybe is our best photo, and it's what we call the dominant photo. And we're going to make that one really stand out. So I'm going to make that one bigger. That's going to be our best photo. And then the other ones I'm going to put in behind. So notice you can see that this is over top of this here. So right now this one's selected. I'm just going to click and drag, and I'm going to bring that down because I want it to sit behind this here. So notice you can see that it's in behind now, so it looks like that. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger, and then what I'm going to do is just move it like this. Now I'm just going to make a couple more of duplicates here. Notice I'm duplicating this one so it sits on top of that one, so I have to know where all these are. Now I don't want to have too many here. And that, so I'm going to select that many. Maybe we'll add some more after. And like I said, you can move so that this will overlap this one and so on. Right now you can see this one is back over top of here, so I need to click and drag this down below it. There, so this one sits in behind, and it looks like so. Now what you might want to do is, you might want to have this one here, it looks square right now. I might want to have this as more of a portrait frame box. So I'm going to click like that, and again I want to bring it behind my dominant photo. So there, it looks like that. I'm going to move this over. So you might want to have an overlap, and maybe you just want to have them so they're all separate. It is good to have sometimes some space in between. Could be white space, it could be our background. So I'm just going to move these things around here. So I'm just going to bring in a couple photos here, and then I'm going to have you try this. You can try this with photos that you have, or you can use the ones that I'm going to give you. Like I said, I'm just going to put a couple more in here. So, like so. So now, what's nice about these is we can double click on this and we can go add some photos. And I've got some photos inside here. So notice the photos that I picked here. This is more in portrait view. This is more in portrait view. This would be a good landscape. So we almost have to design our collage based on what we have for images and whether they are landscape like this one or whether they're in portrait. So I'm just going to go back here and take a look. This one here, for instance, is in portrait. So I'm going to double click here and I'm going to go to this one and let's click on this one here. What that does is that actually brings our picture right into our frame like so. So if we zoom in here, we have a couple features here. One thing you can do is you can use this slider and we can make the image inside that frame bigger or smaller. Click the checkbox. The other nice thing is you can actually double click on the image, and then what you can do is you can move the image inside the frame. So we can move the whole frame with the picture. So if I keep it like that and click the checkbox, it looks like so. And then now what I can do is when I click this, I can move the whole frame and picture together. So if I want to modify anything inside there, just double click it. I can change the size of it or I can change the position in there. So like I said, what you can do is you can play around with this. You can change the frame sizes here. Like I said, maybe we want to have some overlap. Maybe we want to keep them so we have some background blue in between them. So like so. Once you are done, you are going to save this as a PSD and you are going to go to the printer and print this as a PSD. Whenever we print, we want the highest possible quality. If we saved it as a JPEG, we are going to lose some quality. So you're going to save this as a PSD on your P drive. You're going to go sign in at the printer computer. I'll get you a sheet of paper and then you can print your product and hand it in. That's it for this tutorial. We'll talk to you soon.